You should watch this at night. Hey curious cats, my name is Sahara. Welcome to the True Crime channel. Let's get into it. Tonight is the highly requested Sandy Hook shooting case, and I decided to do things a bit differently. I'm gonna be showing a lot of images, a lot of pictures, and you're just gonna see my face right now and at the end of the video. And I think another reason is maybe I'm trying to get the focus off of my makeup. I'm counting on your feedbacks. Just let me know if you like that format better or if you want me to do that like every now and then. So yeah, let's get into it. In Newtown, Connecticut, a small town of 27,000 people, in the morning of December 14, 2012, Adam Lanza wakes up. He goes to his mother's bedroom, Nancy Lanza. He shoots her 4 times in the head with a .22 caliber rifle while she's still in bed sleeping. He then heads to his bedroom and tears apart his computer. He takes out the hard drive and tries to destroy it. Armed with an AR-15, 2 semi-automatic pistols, a shotgun, and a few hundred rounds of ammo, he gets inside his mother's vehicle and drives to Sandy Hook Elementary School, which is about 5 miles away from his home. For some reason, he leaves the shotgun in the car. Around 9:30 a.m., he shoots a window to access the school. The principal, Dawn Hawksprung, and the school psychologist, Mary Sherlach, they hear loud pops. They don't know it's gunshots, so they go out and investigate along with lead teacher Natalie Hammond. They see Adam and they yell, "Shooter." Adam shoots and kills both Dawn and Mary. Natalie is injured. He also shoots and injures 2 other staff members who are in the hallway. He then goes to the main office and doesn't see that people are hiding, so he goes back to the hallway. Teachers start hiding their students in closets, under tables, in bathrooms, wherever they can. They also barricade the doors either with furniture or their own bodies standing against the doors. Those who are closer to the gunshots are silent and they ask the students to stay quiet. And in classes that were further, teachers are trying to distract the kids by asking them to draw or reading them a book. There was this interview of a teacher. She said that she smiled and she told the kids she loved them because she thought if all of them died that day, she wanted them to hear that someone loved them before the end. So Adam is in the hallway and then he enters first grade classrooms 8 and 10. We don't know in which order. In one of them is substitute teacher Lauren Rousseau and behavior therapist Rachel Davino. Lauren was filling in for a teacher on maternity leave. Adam kills both teachers and the students in that classroom, 14 of them. They will be found near the bathroom where they probably tried to hide. One student was still alive but pronounced dead upon arrival at the hospital, and one girl survived by hiding in a corner. Later, she will say to her mom, "Mommy, I'm okay, but all my friends are dead." Adam then goes to another classroom. Again, it is not known if he went first to classroom 8 then 10 or 10 then 8. In the other classroom, teacher Victoria Soto is trying to direct the shooter to the auditorium. She's pretending that her students are over there even though they were actually hiding. Some of them were in the bathroom, some of them were hiding under their desks. Adam will shoot and kill her as she puts herself between him and the students who try to escape, and he also kills Anne-Marie Murphy, behavioral therapist, while she's covering one of her students in an attempt to save him, but he will also be killed. Adam finds students hiding under their desks and he shoots them. 4 will die in the classroom and 1 will be pronounced dead upon arrival at the hospital. At that point, Adam is either already in classroom 10 or he goes back there, he turns the gun to his head and he kills himself. The first 911 call had been received at 9:35.
John 911, what's the location of your emergency?
Sandy Hook Elementary School, 12 Dickinson Drive.
Okay, I've got that. What's going on down there?
I believe they're shooting at the front glass. Something's going on.
All right, I want you to stay on the line with me. Where are you in the school?
I'm down the corridor.
All right, I want you to take cover.
When the first gunshots were heard, locals said that they were actually not surprised because there are a lot of gun enthusiasts in the area. The police report reads, "It was fewer than 4 minutes from the time the first 911 call was received until the first police officer arrived at the school. It was fewer than 5 minutes from the first 911 call and 1 minute after arrival of the first officer that the shooter killed himself. In fewer than 11 minutes, 21st grade pupils and 6 adults had lost their lives." End quote. So Adam Lanza basically killed 25 people inside that school in less than 11 minutes. There was some contradicting information from the internet, like from articles that I've found, but I'm sticking with this one because it is from the official police report. The people who lost their lives are Dawn, the school principal, age 47, Mary, the school psychologist, age 56, Lauren and Victoria, teachers, age 30 and 27, Anne-Marie, special education teacher, 52, Rachel, behavior therapist, 29, and the 20 kids. Charlotte, 6 years old, Daniel, 7 years old, Olivia, 6, Josephine, 7, Anna, 6, Dylan, 6, Madeline, 6, Catherine, 6, Chase, 7, Jesse, 6, James, 6, Grace, 7, Emily, 6, Jack, 6, Noah, 6, Caroline, 6, Jessica, 6, Benjamin, 6, Allison, 6, Aviel, 6 years old. Aviel's father had actually started a foundation in the name of his daughter. I found out when I got to the end of my research, actually, that he committed suicide about 2 years ago. The police investigation will reveal that all the firearms found inside the school and at the home of the Lanza family, along with all the ammo, had been purchased legally. All victims had been shot multiple times with the rifle, except 2 of the victims, who had been shot only once, which led investigators to the conclusion that Adam was reloading frequently. The investigation also tried to determine if anyone else had been involved in the planning of this shooting. When police arrived at the scene, they actually didn't even know if it was more than one shooter. So they looked through the entire school and made sure all rooms were clear. Obviously, they were also looking for survivors as well, or victims. The other reason they thought there could be a co-conspirator is because there was an unknown male just hanging out right outside the school long after staff and children had been evacuated. Police thought it looked suspicious, so they looked into that. And there were also people in the wooded area that surrounds the school, and same, they were just hanging out in the woods while police was evacuating and searching the place. Pretty much everybody was handcuffed and interrogated because police just wanted to make sure there was no second shooter, and there wasn't. The unknown male outside the school was a parent, and the people in the woods were mostly reporters. But at that point, everybody was just freaking out. I mean, not freaking out, I guess they were following police procedure, and they just had to make sure. There was this one guy, though, who had no business being in the woods. He was just curious. He had received the lockdown alert on his phone, which is something that I'm gonna have to explain in the French version of this video, because in France, we actually don't have emergency text alerts. When the body of the shooter was found, he was dressed in cargo pants, pockets full of ammo, guns by his side, he had earplugs in, he was wearing fingerless gloves. Police recovered ballistic evidence and the body was taken to the morgue. Investigators proceeded with a house search after looking into Adam's car, Nancy's car, on the parking lot. They quickly identified the owner of the vehicle through the registration number and they went to the Lanza house. Here is some footage. So as I said, Nancy had been killed in her bed while she was probably still sleeping. The autopsy revealed that she had no defensive wounds. She didn't put her arms in front of her head, which is what anybody would do in a reflex to try to protect your head. The gun used by Adam to kill his mother was found next to her body. Inside Adam's room, the windows were covered, they were blacked out, the damaged hard drive was found, and in his closet there was a safe, and I think that's probably what upset me the most. There were guns inside and ammunitions. The thought of his mother allowing him to have the safe in his bedroom is just scary. Police found a Christmas check from Nancy to her son so he could purchase a CZ-83 firearm. In Adam's bedroom, police also found an article on the 2008 school shooting in northern Illinois. They found pictures of a dead body covered in plastic and another newspaper article from a school shooting that happened in 1891. After the tragedy, Adam's family members were interviewed, his father, his brother, and other family members, people who knew him, had known him in the past, like classmates and teachers. The people who were interviewed had no explanation for what happened. Many of them acknowledged that Adam had an obsession for school shooting, especially Columbine, and they knew about his interest in firearms, the fact that he would often go to the shooting range with his mother. I was wondering about the percentage of mass shootings where the perpetrator or perpetrators practice shooting, and if that affects the number of victims in the end. Okay, now we're going to talk about the shooter. Adam Lanza was born on the 22nd of April in 1992 in New Hampshire. His parents divorced when he was 9, and eventually it was just Adam and his mother in the family home. Adam's father was paying alimony almost $290,000 US per year. His brother had moved out when he went to college. He moved to New York. Growing up, Adam had a hard time learning how to speak. He was quickly diagnosed with autism. In a doctor's note, it was said about Adam that when he tried to express himself and wasn't understood, he would be very frustrated, so much so that he would be violent at times, spitting, crying, and hitting. He would try to speak louder in the hope to be understood, and he did not try to use body language or gestures as other kids would do. With other kids around him, he eventually gave up since nobody could understand him. Other than these brief, slightly violent episodes when he was very young, Adam never displayed aggressive or threatening tendencies. When he grew older, he did not have a problem expressing himself clearly anymore. He even made new friends. He wasn't 100% isolated. But many students remember him as distant and unemotional. Some even reported that he was bullied, even Adam's parents and his brother, whom he had told. Adam played Little League baseball, but he eventually stopped because he did not like it. Experts believe that his isolation began with the speech development issues. He felt different from a very young age, and he was more comfortable isolated and alone. Soon he would also be diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder and sensory integration deficit. Sensory integration deficit basically made Adam very sensitive to textures, sounds, and light, which definitely did not help with his isolation. He would spend a lot of time in his bedroom or the basement. At school, he did not like when other kids were loud, or sometimes the clothes they'd wear. And also, as a consequence to his sensory integration deficit, in a chat room online, he once wrote that relationships have absolutely no physical aspect. All that matters is communication, and the nature of the internet fosters it. Adam started isolating himself even more around the age of 14. He went as far as not allowing his mother to enter his bedroom ever, which is why many people think that she never saw the spreadsheet he made. That spreadsheet was a list of mass murderers. Police also found very disturbing writings and drawings. He wrote this story of a mean granny who would kill children with her walking stick. And in this story, she played a game Adam calls Hide and Go Die. A few months prior to the shooting, Adam's isolation became really bad. He was barely leaving his bedroom, and he didn't even speak to his mother. He would send her emails. He wasn't even upset with her. He just needed to be isolated. He had written a list of the reasons why he did not want to go to school anymore, which included, I can't learn the way that school teaches. And this is what led Nancy to homeschool him after he made her aware of the fact that he was just not comfortable going to school and being outside. At some point, his mother wanted to sell the house and move to either North Carolina or Washington. And at that point, Adam's intention was to either go to a special school or find a computer job. Adam seemed like he was close to his mother. Some friends from school said that he told them that they were quite close and she was the only person he could talk to, but others say the exact opposite, claiming that he told them that one day his mother asked him would he feel bad if anything happened to her, and he simply replied no. He told some friends that he did not have an emotional connection with her. Up until the age of 18, Adam would see his father frequently. They would go hiking, play video games, they went shooting but only twice, and they did a bunch of different things. Then for whatever reason, the relationship deteriorated. They would only email each other every now and then, and it was the same with Ryan, Adam's older brother. They just did not speak, and they hadn't seen each other since 2010. Among the things that police found at Nancy's home, there was this note that Adam wrote about pedophilia, and he described it as being a nurturing kind of love. And he also wrote that he thinks the child should have a choice. He wrote a screenplay called Lovebound. It's the story of a 10-year-old boy who meets a 30-year-old man. A psychoanalyst would interpret that as Adam's longing for companionship a friendship that would eventually become a sexual relationship with a man. But Adam also wrote about the ideal female partner and how he would be a great father because, and I quote, I would foster a free environment for my child. I would not subject my child to my opinions. I would encourage him, her, to think for him, herself. End quote. In another text, he wrote that he defends anorexia. One of his arguments was that thin people are graceful, according to him. Fat people can fit everywhere. And he also wrote, I want to walk through the snow and leave no footprints. Unless you're that guy, I don't think that's ever happening, but okay. Adam was actually malnourished. He was anorexic. Adam also wrote about the fact that he did not understand why religions condemn suicide since it's a fast track to heaven. Basically, that's what he says. He thinks it's the best way to end your suffering in this life. And last but not least, he says that if you die, it's moral because you would not have the capacity to commit immoral deeds, which you can do when you're alive. He also wrote about the fact that he has nothing but scorn for humanity, especially his parents. It's not exactly clear when he wrote everything that was found by police, but it was understood by psychiatrists that the violence in all this content was evolving and it was worsening, it was escalating. Adam's autopsy revealed that he had not taken drugs or medication prior to the shooting. He had no interest in drugs or alcohol or any of that stuff, and he also wrote about that. The last of Adam's writings I want to mention is this one where he said, I was molested at least a dozen times by a few different adults when I was a child. It wasn't my decision at all. I was coerced into it. They felt me all over my body, and it usually culminated in the fondling of my penis. What do each of the adults have in common? They were doctors, and each of them were sanctioned by my parents to do it. As a child with autism and sensory integration deficit, it does make sense that he would feel that way, feel like his privacy was violated and he was made extremely uncomfortable by anyone touching him, let alone a doctor who sometimes would need to examine you in places that would make anybody uncomfortable. But molestation is not what happened to Adam. It's not what happens to every child who goes to the doctor, as he writes in the last sentence. In the hard drive of Adam Lanza, police also found pictures of a shooter holding a gun to his head, 2 videos showing suicide by gunshot, movies about mass shooting, a video of children being killed, but it was from a movie. They also found a lot of documents on weapons, tons of material on Columbine, and there was also normal content in there. As I was diving deeper and deeper in the ocean of police reports, which felt like reading the entire book collection in the library in The Beauty and the Beast, there was a list of video games found at Adam's house. GTA, Doom, Half-Life, Left 4 Dead. These names almost sound like a horrible prophecy. I want to emphasize on the includes but is not limited to, and I'm absolutely not saying this to defend Adam Lanza, but I thought it was unfair that they only listed the violent games. He had a ton of other video games like Mario and other non-violent games. A friend of Adam actually said that Mario was his favorite game and he played it much more than all the other ones. He also played DDR, which is Dance Dance Revolution, and I'll just show you this clip of Adam dancing. It's just unfair to the video game industry that even in the police reports, they highlighted the violent video games. I play violent video games sometimes, and a lot of people do. It doesn't mean it desensitizes you to violence, and I stand by that, and I am not the only one. Share your opinion in the comment section, especially if you disagree. I'm really interested in reading other different opinions on the subject. I mean, it's okay to disagree, right? We can still talk about it and be respectful. I guess I just want to say that I'm very passionate about gaming. You probably already know that if you've seen my other videos. And while we're on the subject of gaming, I was thinking of starting a Twitch channel. Maybe I could start streaming once a week and we could have a live session together. I was thinking we could talk about cases that I covered on my channel. We could talk about suggestions that you may have for future videos. Or we can talk about the fact that I'm always right. You know, just the good stuff. Anyway, let me know how you would feel about streaming live on Twitch once a week. What I'm about to say next definitely does not support what I just said on video games, but I have to talk about it because it's important. And keep in mind that we're talking here about someone that has severe mental health issues. As I said, police found in Adam's bedroom a spreadsheet that he had made with a list of mass shooters. He listed the name of the perpetrator, the number of victims, the number of people who were injured, and the guns that were used. And a police officer said about that spreadsheet that this was the work of a video gamer, and it was his intent to put his own name at the top of that list. He was comparing that spreadsheet to the rankings that you have in video games, and the officer also added that the reason he picked an elementary school was because it would be easier to get a bigger volume of victims because they're young, they're children, they can defend themselves. It's kind of like when you play on easy mode. This police officer also believed that Adam learned the principle of tactical reload from his games. Like, you reload before you're completely out so you can just keep going. It's something that you learn whether you're in police training or when you learn to play a kill game. So does this mean that we should ban violent video games? And if so, then we should also ban violent movies or series. We all remember the shooting at the movie theater. So where's the limit? Like, how far do we have to go to try and prevent people from killing? I mean, don't you think the problem comes from guns and not fake digital guns? It is no wonder that parents of victims, like the parents of the Sandy Hook victims, they actually start to advocate for gun control after something like that happens. The mother of, I think her name was Grace, she spoke on TV, she gave an interview, and she said that if people who made the laws went through something like that, they would probably understand. And I think it's fair to say that. The last thing I want to say about video games is that I am speaking as a European. Here we have little to no gun violence, especially compared to the USA. So I do get that violence from video games is a concern, but I want to remind you here that those type of games, they are not made for young audiences. The parents have the responsibility to help their kid make smart entertainment choices. They have to control that aspect of their lives just as much as you would not allow a 10-year-old kid to go to a strip club. You should also make sure they are not playing violent video games. There is a reason to the, ratings of movies and TV series and video games. If it's not made for under 12-year-old kids, it's just not. And I do get that an argument can be made that playing is different than just watching, but it is still violence. Video games are just not to blame. They're not. If they were, we'd have more school shootings in other parts of the world, not just the USA. I think it's important here to talk about Nancy, Adam's mother, because there was a lot said about her and how she was to blame and what happened. She was 52 at the time of the events. She was described by friends and family as a very generous person, a good mother. She was very protective of her son Adam, and she was very caring. The gun enthusiasm was not unanimously reported the same way. Some said she liked guns, but it was a hobby, not an obsession. And some family members said that she loved guns very much, and it was part of her doomsday prepping obsession. She would talk a lot about preparing for an economical collapse. Some friends admitted that they didn't even know what she did for a living. They didn't know if she worked or not. Well, she didn't, because her husband was giving her a huge amount of money as alimony, so she did not have to work. And she told friends that her son's condition was the reason she did not have a job. She also confessed at times that she was overwhelmed and she worried a lot about what would happen to Adam if anything would happen to her. She explained to her friends what it meant to take care of Adam, taking into consideration his conditions. He did not like food to be plated a certain way. It had to be arranged in a certain way. He changed clothes many times during the day, especially his socks, so she had to do laundry a lot. She barely had any friends come over because she had a hard time controlling her son. That's how she phrased it. And when she would have someone come over, they were given instructions on how to not touch Adam. He would most likely be in his room anyway, especially if someone was visiting. He just didn't like people, or he didn't like too many people around him, so that was that. And even those who worked around the house or delivery men, they could only talk to Nancy outside, and they were told to never ring the doorbell. She also had to get rid of a cat because Adam just did not want it around anymore. He did not like holidays or birthdays or any kind of celebration since he felt no emotions. That's how she phrased it. She could never have a Christmas tree, for example, and it was just getting more and more difficult, she admitted to friends. There was a rumor saying that Nancy was working at Sandy Hook, but she wasn't. She was a volunteer there as per this Christmas card that was found in her home, but that was when Adam used to be a student there. So as you can imagine, many people put the blame on Nancy for what happened, not just the media, but also experts, doctors, school staff. Many believed that the signs were there, so many warnings, and nobody did anything, especially not her. But I did wonder if people really knew. Did they really notice? I mean, they knew about his conditions, but it was not known if the drawings and the writings were seen by anyone other than Adam. They were found in his room where nobody could enter, and we don't know if he made similar content when he was in school. And eventually he was getting good grades and he made new friends, so I don't know if the warning signs were there for everybody to see. Many people believe that Nancy was in denial and she accepted too much of her son's rules. Also, a doctor, this one is actually disturbing, but there was a doctor who prescribed treatment and she refused it. Some doctors were reported to have scheduled evaluations, but she refused because she believed that her son would benefit more from being homeschooled. I guess from her perspective, Nancy probably thought she tried her best. There were a lot of books that were found at her house on autism. She did try at some point to take him to doctors, but the gun thing was definitely not seen as a good idea. If she likes shooting, that's fine, she can go shooting, but taking your son, your autistic son, to a shooting range, I mean, I don't know. Not to mention the fact that they had so many guns inside the house, including some that she allowed him to have in his own safe in his bedroom. I think it's safe to say that it was clearly an element that allowed the tragedy to happen. One of the Columbine shooters also was suspected to have autism, although he was never diagnosed. But he did manage to get guns from the internet, so my question is, would Adam have done the same thing if they did not have so many guns inside the house? The issue of child privacy was also raised. Did she give him too much privacy? Nancy was not allowed to enter his bedroom where he had a massive spreadsheet listing killers that he admired, bedroom where he had a computer and God knows what he was doing online, who he was talking to, what he said, bedroom where he had writings and drawings that could potentially have encouraged her to pursue treatment for her son. So I guess it is an interesting question, like where's the limit when it comes to child privacy? How much should you give them and how should you make this process evolve when they get older? The fact that she accepted to be banned from the bedroom was Nancy overprotecting her son from stress, which definitely encouraged isolation and made it progress to a point where he barely left his bedroom. And the dependency apparently went both ways. Nancy confided a lot in Adam. In an email he sent her, Adam said, "If you believe that you have wasted your life, as you seem to have insinuated, you will gain nothing from regretting it and will only depress yourself. You cannot change anything from the past. There is something I can assure you of that will be true. It does not matter if you live for the next year or even 100 years. The day before you die, you will regret ever worrying about your life instead of thinking of what you want to do." End quote. I don't even know what to make of that. Just a quick word on autism and psychopathy. I think it's really important because, of course, the question was raised. I found out when I was doing my research that sometimes autism and psychopathy can be confused. I'm going to give you a quick and basic definition of both. Autism is basically difficulties in social interactions, difficulties in communication, and patterns in behavior. And each of these three main elements can mean very different things in different people. For example, some people can be hypersensitive, like it was the case for Adam, who could not tolerate loud noises, bright lights, bright colors, etc. And other people suffering from ASD will actually experience the exact opposite. They will not be aware of sounds and they will be in like their own sensory bubble. So you can either be oversensitive or undersensitive. And that's why it's called the autism spectrum disorder, because under each main component there is a variety of different disorders. Psychopathy is a neuropsychiatric disorder marked by deficient emotional responses, lack of empathy, and poor behavioral controls, commonly resulting in persistent antisocial deviance and criminal behavior. So from what I gathered, the confusion between autism and psychopathy comes from the empathy aspect of it, or the lack of empathy to be precise. And the problem is that the lack of empathy is not inherent to autism. Some will have extraordinary empathy and others don't, and psychopaths are defined as antisocial. There definitely are common elements in both conditions, except for the violence aspect that you find in psychopathy and very rarely in autism. So the question of intent here is really important. A psychopath has the intent to be malicious, to become a criminal, whereas it's more complicated when a person is autistic, because violence is definitely not inherent to autism, or at least it's not common. The question of Adam's autism being the cause and the source of what happened was raised. It was asked to experts, and they said that people suffering from ASD can be violent, but it's rare, 8 to 28% of criminals, but it was not caused by autism. So there has been a discussion and a few articles on possibly adding a subcategory to the spectrum of autism, which is or would be referred to as criminal autistic psychopathy. I did come across autistic psychopathy, so maybe that would be a better option for a name of that subcategory. And again, it's rare that a person suffering from autism would also be a psychopath, but Adam Lanza definitely would fall in that category if it ever becomes an official diagnosis, and it's not the case right now. A lot of doctors insisted on the fact that people with ASD are actually less likely to commit a crime and much more likely to become victims of a crime. And in the case of Adam Lanza, there is another element that is to be taken into consideration. It's the fact that he was suffering from anorexia, which, according to them, could have impaired his cognitive functions and probably caused brain damage. Everything that I said about autism and psychopathy is not my opinion or my interpretation of things or my analysis of things. I'm just telling you what I found online, and this concludes tonight's video. Thank you so much for staying till the end. We do have a random item review for tonight. Again, it's for women, but that's like 80% of my audience, and for the remaining 20% it can be a gift idea. My ride or die eyeliner is this one, the Ultra Precision by L'Oreal. The reason I love this eyeliner so much is because it doesn't smudge. It's not even waterproof and it doesn't smudge. Crash test. The cheapest I found it was in London, so if you're ever in the UK, go to Boots or Superdrug and buy a whole bunch. So that's it for me. Again, thank you for watching till the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and as usual, I'll see you next week. Bye.